So real quick, before we get into the mastermind, we're going to go around the room and everybody's going to say something that they are struggling with or would like to get some help with. We're going to add that to the list. That's going to be down here. And I'll go ahead and start our list as we start sharing. And then we're going to kind of come together and help each other solve some of those issues with our experiences. And hopefully we get something out of it. All right. So Ricky's thing up there was just really motivational. I hope that you're following him on social media. I follow him on his Instagram, and we'll get to that in a second. But he's a big believer in some of these little nuggets that I took away. August 1st is the start of the new year. You know, a lot of times we focus on the end of December, and we're like, okay, we had a good year. These are our plans for next year. This is what we're going to hit the ground running January 1. But as he says, you know, your January 1 starts August 1st because you're piling up as many people in your database and in your pipeline so that January 1 comes, we're off to the races. We're not working on building that up. So it's not too late, all right? Even if you've kind of slacked off in August, September, whatever it is, start now and make sure that you are putting your pedal to the metal for the rest of the year and building your business and making those contacts and putting more people in your database. All right, that's going to propel and have a bigger 2022 than this year. So get on it. All right, add more people to your database during the slower time. So I don't know about you, but back in like May, June, July, some of the busier times, even back in 2020, I realized this by myself. I had a handful of deals that I wasn't used to handling, that I was just focusing on taking care of those deals, right? And I wasn't really doing the prospecting or getting more people in the pipeline. I was just trying to handle the deals that I had. So during that busy time, it's hard to prospect. But now that it's slowed down a little bit, especially with August and the start of school, you know, the fall is typically a little bit slower, and then into the winter, this is the time to add people to your database. How are you adding people to your database? I like doing open houses, all right? Adding 4 to 5 contacts every single weekend. That's going to give you 16 contacts a month, all right? That's adding more people to your database. Talking to your sphere of influence, getting referrals. You know, whoever you meet that you can add into that database, the better, all right? So make sure that we're continuing to put more people and growing that database every day, every week, all right? Everybody you talk to is a human and not a lead, and treat them that way. All right. So yeah, you might be talking to somebody right now. I just got off the phone with somebody that I haven't talked to in 15 years. It's kind of crazy. He randomly reached out to me and he asked me about a real estate question because he knows I'm in real estate. All right. And he even said, well, I'm not looking to sell right now, but I'm thinking about it a year and a half down the road. I'm like, cool. Well, I'm going to help him with whatever he needs right now, because start building that relationship and that trust. And now I'm the go-to realtor for him. And when the time comes, he's going to use me, right? That's the whole point. I think sometimes us realtors going, well, where's our next deal? And when is it going to happen in the next 30 days? You know, where can I find somebody today that I can close right now and get paid in 30 days? You know, and you have to realize that this business isn't really like that. I mean, sometimes, yeah, you run into people, right place at the right time, but, you know, think about the long-term game as well. I almost kind of love when somebody does a new build, right? And it's like, okay, that new build's not going to be done for 6, 8, 10 months from now. But I look at it as like, hey, I know I have a locked-in payday on that month, right? So treat them as a human and not try to close them today. All right. Weekly emails with stats and information, and put your personal touch opinion on them. All right. He does Ricky Cruz's plan, and I'll share the website in a second. He does a weekly email to everybody in his database, and every single week. And sometimes it's a property of the week or a listing of the week. It's a restaurant of the week. You can get more information. All of his stuff is free, right? And he has tons of information on his website that I still have to do more digging on. And I recommend that you visit and dig yourself and try to pull out all that you can. But anyways, make it personal, all right, and say, here's what the stats of the housing market are doing, and this is what I think it means, and make sure that you put that personal touch so that you are seen as the experts in your field. Um, Treat your emails like social media and make them personal and tell a story, right? Create engagement. That's important. And it's another touch, right? Are they opening up your emails? Probably if half of the people are opening up your emails, you're doing really well. But the people that are seeing it is another touch, and make it something that's enjoyable. So there's two emails that I always get. I'm on, oh God, I can't believe I'm dropping his name, Dane Schrader's email. And every time I get his email, I think it's about once a month. I love it. It catches my eye. It looks great, super organized. There's a bunch of videos, YouTube clips that you could click on. And then there's another one. I won't name the realtor. It's a big team not with EXP, but I get emails from them as well. And they look nice, but then it's just a bunch of words. I mean, it's just write. I'm just reading like a novel, and there's nothing to click. There's no pictures to look at. There's nothing that catches my eye. It's just so wordy that I know when I was a band director, I would write a weekly email to my people, and I would go, I want you to be able to look at it and read it easily, all right, without having to like dig and read deeply. So it needs to catch the eye and make it simple. Make it almost like a bullet point, similar to this, what you're looking at right here on the notes, right? It's like it should be clear and easy to read and to the point. All right. So that's just my 2 cents on that. Things that Ricky wants us to focus on in 2022. All right. Start listening to your prospects and stop trying to close them. Kind of going back to what we're saying, right? His whole thing is he's reaching out to homeowners, and he's just saying, hey, what can I do to help you today? Is there anything in the world I can help you do today? And maybe that's nothing. Maybe it's hey, I'm looking for a lawn guy. Okay, well, let me get you in touch with the lawn guy. Hey, I need an electrician to fix this socket over here. Okay, cool. Let me get you in touch with that. You're not necessarily trying to, obviously you want them to sell them a house, but just help them. All right. Don't try to close them and find them that house unless they're obviously looking for that. All right. Eliminate all your fears. And this is easier said than done. I feel sometimes weird presenting some of this stuff because these things that I'm telling you are the same things that I struggle with on a daily basis. All right. So I hope I never come across as preaching like I got it all figured out. I am far from getting it all figured out. All right. And that's why I try to learn as much as possible and take in all that information. But eliminate all your fears. There's nothing to be afraid of. All right. I've done some door knocking, and people are scared to death of doing door knocking. And I honestly kind of found it enjoyable. Find those things, and nothing's going to happen to you. All right. You are not in physical danger at all. Nobody's going to like beat you up or pull a gun, and like just go for it and be yourself, be authentic, and eliminate all of your excuses. I know I meet with Shane quite a bit, and he laughs at me because everything that I say is an excuse. But when you really boil it down, it really is like they are all just simple excuses. All right. And we need to get rid of them and just like take action. All right. And I've been struggling this week to take action, and I'm like, oh, well, I have to do this and I have to do that, and I have to help my parents unpack, and I have to do these things. But they're all excuses that are getting in the way of me being productive. All right. Yes, I can absolutely help them do that and be here at those times, but there's no reason I can't pull up my phone and send a text message to somebody that I need to talk to, or there's no reason I can't make a call. And the funny thing is, as soon as you do just one phone call or one text or one message, it leads to another one, like almost automatically. All right. So it's just go do it. All right. Like get rid of your excuses, get off your butt, sit down and make a phone call. So those are things to think about. Those are the Ricky notes. Neil Mathwig, and I'll share the follow in here in a little bit. Neil Mathwig. So 2 weeks ago on here, I was going to get, man, I'm drawing blanks on names today. Travis Modison, good friend, band director back in the day. He's been in real estate for about 6 months and killing it up in Oregon. So I was going to interview him and kind of have him share his success story of how he's built his business. Anyways, the day before we were supposed to do that, he said, hey, my coach, Neil Mathwig, is in San Antonio. You should go check out his training, his mastermind, which this is going to be based off of in a second. So I went and I was blown away. Like, he was great, surrounded by different agents from different brokerages. And all he did was he went around the room, which we're about to do in a second, and everybody said one or two things that they were struggling with or wanted help with, right? And to be better at. And he just wrote them down on a whiteboard, which we'll do here in a second. And then we looked at them after we went around the room and we're like, okay, we're going to attack these things. And we just started talking about them and we shared, and he didn't always give the information. Sometimes it was an experienced agent that had some other piece of advice, like you guys, right? That are going to chime in and go, well, this is what I do in handling this, or this is how I take action in that. But here's some of his nuggets that I took away. He focuses on 3 pillars of your business. And the first pillar is your sphere. And I wrote this down on my notes. I'm going to read this. But your sphere is pretty much what we all know is your database. Like, if you don't have some kind of database, then you don't really have a real estate business at all, right? And some of you have like 20 names in your database, and that's okay. And some of us have 200, 300, 400 or more in your database. But it needs to be something, and you're always trying to build that database. All right. So if it's 20, by next week, can it be 25? Can it be 30 the following week? If you're doing an open house, you're going to add approximately 16 in a month. So now you do that times 12. Now you have over 100 in your database. All right. So over the year. So you want to continue to grow that. And then with that database, what are you doing with it? All right. If you're new, you're doing an announcement letter. All right. I know some of us struggle with that and are scared to put ourselves out there. I didn't do it in a snail mail. I did mine on Facebook, and of course got a lot of attention that way because I have a lot of followers on there. And I can share that with y'all. But it was just real simple. Hey, as you know, I'm leaving band directing and I'm going to real estate. Super excited. I'm partnering up with EXP, who's amazing, and with Mark Chambers, Alan Grulick, and all these people that my people knew. So it's just an announcement letter of what you're doing. All right. And then a monthly newsletter is what he recommends, or a mailing. And that's something that I'm lacking. And that's something that I've been saying for months now, that I need to create something that's consistent every single month. All right. And that's what I'm working on. But those are the types of things that you're doing with your sphere, on top of you're calling them probably at least once a quarter. All right. Maybe you're sending birthday cards. Maybe you're sending anniversary cards. Whatever it is that stays in contact, your social media kind of ties into your sphere as well. All right. The next pillar is the chase pillar. All right. The chase pillar is open houses, for sale by owners, expireds, Facebook leads, and those type of businesses that are you're going out and chasing the business, you're finding those people that you don't know yet. You're connecting with new people, right? So he also says you don't want to chase your whole career, right? So maybe you focus in on open houses and you're focusing on 1 or 2 of those, mainly 1, but you could do 2, and you do them all out. Right, you go all in on open houses, and you do that for like a year, 2 years, whatever it is, and now you have a database that's grown over that time that can now shift into your sphere pillar. All right, and the chase pillar is great because when you feel like your business is slowing down or hasn't really gotten much out of that sphere, you can fire up your chase pillar, all right, and go after that again and go meet new people to build that up. And it kind of reignites your business. So that's important. The third one is your attraction pillar. All right, this is the fun one. This is maybe you create a YouTube channel if that's something that you like to do. If you watch a lot of stuff on YouTube and you're a big YouTube person, maybe you should have a YouTube channel. Travis Modison has one. He has several deals from it, and he has like 8 videos up there as of right now, and he's just being himself. Social media, you're the social agent, and maybe you want to create a podcast, right? I've thought about that before when I was band directing, and now that I'm kind of doing this on a weekly basis, I think it'd be cool to do a podcast of some sort. Um, but those are the attraction pillars. Those are the kind of fun stuff that makes you more social and are out there, kind of tying into your sphere, right? Um, Play matchmaker. So I was talking to him about all of my open house leads that I haven't really done anything with. He asked me, do you have the criterias for what they're looking for? And his whole thing was give people what they want. People don't want a realtor. They want a house, right? So you have to be the person that gives them or finds them the house, right? So they should know, you should know that this person wants a 3-bed, 2-bath in Stone Oak at this price or whatever it is. And you are doing your best job of finding that. And then it makes it real easy to call them and say, hey, I just found this house. I hit the market and it made me think of you. I think you'd really like it. You know, even if you leave that voicemail, guess what? They're going to hear that and they're going to get excited and pick up the phone and call you. All right. So you're the matchmaker of connecting the person to the house and making that happen instead of just going, hey, pick me. I'm the best realtor around. All right. Make that happen. Day blocking. I've heard of this. Mark Kale was the first one that told me about this. I haven't done it, and I probably should. Probably help me get a little bit more organized. But day blocking looks like this. This is what his day blocking looked like. Neil Mathwood. Mondays he calls us hot, warm leads. Tuesdays is client update day. Right. Wednesdays is his contacting his sphere and planning events for his sphere. Thursdays, he's doing open house prep, you know, getting ready for his open house and his chase pillar. All right. So that's what he's focused on Thursdays. And Fridays, this is an attraction day. You know, he says it's his fun day. It's where he gets to make videos and be goofy and do the social media stuff. And then Saturdays is catch up day. You know, if you're following up with things and making sure that you stay in contact with the people you need to stay in contact with. So those are some nuggets that I got from those 2 things that I wanted to share with you guys. If you're not following these 2, I highly recommend it. I started listening to Neil's podcast and it's great. It's just on the podcast app. You type in Agent Rise, I think it is. Let me just double check that. Boom. Yep, Agent Rise right here with Neil Mathwig, really good stuff. And then Ricky's stuff on Instagram and YouTube. Go to his website, 0 to Diamond. He has a lot of his emails that this is the type of emails that he sends out on a weekly basis. So just copy it and make it your own, right? I just followed him on Instagram on Neil and listened to his podcast. And he has a coaching program. One is a boot camp that I believe started today. And another one is like one-on-one. So there's like team coaching and individual coaching. I'm actually going to reach out to him and talk to him about the team coaching and seeing what he could possibly set up with all of us, because I think we would all get a lot out of that. So more information to come on that. So let's get to the nuts and bolts of today. What I'll do is I'll just call on each person on here. And if you can turn on your mic and tell me 1 or 2 things that you would like to get help with or that you're struggling with. We're just going to start at the top here with the video. Shane, is there one thing or that you could be better at, or agents that you work with could be better at?
Agents that I work with?
Either one.
Yeah. I would say that time management is probably the number one thing that holds people back.
Hmm.
And mindset.
Time management, mindset. Yeah, absolutely. And we'll definitely talk about that. That's funny because that's one of the topics that our class, that was one of the first things that came up, is time management. So absolutely. Cool. Hey, Mark Kale, could you join in and maybe throw something on there that we could discuss?
Oh yeah, definitely. By the way, everything that you've said so far has just been really awesome information. So I appreciate all that. You can hear me, right?
Yeah.
Gotta make sure I'm in the mic and everything. Yeah, I think the thing with me, even where I am now, is sometimes it's overwhelming. Like there's all these different points that I know that I should be doing to grow and to be building my business. And it's just like getting clarity on exactly which thing to do next. You know, it's like, okay, I know I need to do all these things. And I know that if we just pick one thing and just do that, and we do that each day, wherever it's time blocked in our day or whatever, then we're going to make steady progress. And I think myself and a lot of people, it's so hard to decide which thing that days get away from us and we don't really get anything done.
Yeah. No, that's so true. I've definitely been there here and in band directing, right? So where you're just like so overwhelmed, you're like, I don't even know where to start. All right. So yeah, well, definitely a good topic to discuss. Cool. Christina, you want to throw anything out as to what you're struggling with or what you would like to discuss?
I mean, it's like a mixture of the two that have already been said as far as like time management and kind of overwhelmed, but my overwhelm right now is with a lot more outside of my real estate stuff. And so just finding the time management, and I've been going over like the Neil Mathwig stuff about like day blocking and kind of figuring that out. So I'm it's a work in progress, but that's my biggest struggle right now, are those two things combined.
Yeah,
for sure.
No, absolutely. We'll leave that there. That's definitely a big one that we all struggle with. I definitely find myself like where I'm really productive and having like an awesome week, maybe 2 weeks, and then like the following week, say, I don't feel like doing it, you know, and that's some of the biggest mindset things that we had to go through as well. So yeah, we'll definitely talk more about that. And see, Joe Cuellar, do you mind joining us and throwing something out that you'd like to talk about?
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess a follow up. I mean, a lot of the stuff that they've said, time blocking and stuff like that is something that I struggle with from time to time. But I guess just following up, I guess having like a good CRM in place to follow up with clients.
Yeah, that is a tough one, and I was always taught. We'll get to that in a second, but yeah, I was always taught like day 1 you do this, day 3 you do this, blah blah. But Neil had a very interesting take, and I'll share that here in a little bit. So yeah, follow up is definitely a hot topic of conversation for all realtors. So thanks for throwing that out there. Adolfo, would you like to join in?
Yeah. I mean, we have one already on the time management and mindset, but mine being more productive. I don't feel like I make the best time out of following up with people or getting out there, prospecting, door knocking. I do open houses a lot too, and I feel like I'm not hitting the areas to be able to get more traffic that goes through it. I try to do open houses every weekend, and I mean sometimes they're a bust. I don't hardly get anybody to come in. And I just want to figure out, like, trying to be more, how to get more attraction to my open houses and stuff. I like a day beforehand, or like Thursday or Friday. I usually do Saturday and Sunday, so I try to go out there, pass out flyers in the neighborhood, trying to get more people to go out there. Yep. But I just feel like I'm not more productive, and my time management too. I'm not blocking out the right things or working on the right stuff. So
cool. No, it sounds great. I definitely have a pointer or two for the open housing with more traffic. And I don't know all of it. I was just talking to somebody that does different things. So I'd love to share that and I'm sure there's other people that can throw different stuff out there as well. So cool. Mike White, you got anything?
Yeah, a lot of people said a lot of stuff already, but mainly I would say like the consistency. You know, I've been doing better with the time management, but you know, one of those distractions or something comes up and it throws off the consistency. Um, you know, I don't do it long enough to build the habit yet. Something throws it off, and then it's like kind of rebuilding the momentum all over again, and kind of just trying to keep that, you know, consistency and keep the foot on the gas and through, you know, whatever distractions may come up, just kind of, you know, getting to that point, just push through it, you know?
Yeah. No, I think majority of people struggle with that as well. So you're not alone, and you know we'll talk about that and share those thoughts as we go here. So I appreciate it. And Miranda, got anything that you want to throw in the mix?
Hi. I really don't, just because I haven't really started full on. I don't know if you guys know, but I'm getting my Kansas and my Missouri license as well as Texas, just because I grew up here. So I just know a lot of people, and Tony and I thought it would be beneficial for me to get license up here for the time being. And so still working on that. Therefore, I just feel like I'm in a standby kind of time.
Okay.
But it's really great to hear what everyone struggled with so that I can work on that as soon as I get started.
Yeah, no, for sure. And again, we'll go ahead and get started with this list. I don't think I missed anybody. Let me just double check. I think everybody added something or said something. So I don't want to dominate this time. So we'll go just down the list of things, and I'll go ahead and say like a quick little one or two things. And then please, like Joe, like you're probably more experienced than I am. You know, Mike, I know that you've been doing this. Shane obviously is more experienced than all of us. He's the old man here. Mark Kale has plenty of experience. So if y'all please feel free to join in and throw your 2 cents as how you handle these things. All right. So time management and mindsets. I go back to blocking time, you know, and I don't do this thing over here, right? I know that I think Mark Kale has done this and probably still does it, right? But I block my time as I'm waking up at this time, 30 minutes later, I'm working out. An hour later, I am, you know, journaling and doing, you know, just a relaxation. Man, I'm drawing a blank today. Meditation, there it is. And then, you know, I read for 30 minutes, and sometimes a lot of the times I get motivation out of that, like, oh, that's a great little nugget to take off of. But just having a structure, and then I leave for work. So I remember hearing Dayton Schrader talk about this. He goes, his business finally took off when he treated his job like a 40-hour work week. All right. And I think a lot of us leave a 40-hour work week and the grind of going to a job and go, oh, I have all this freedom. But then we put in like maybe 5 hours a week of work. And it's like, imagine if you put in 40 hours, if you worked like 8 hours a day, or at least 4 to 5 hours a day, but Monday through Friday, that's going to compound itself and make a massive impact. All right. Mindset, you know, my mindset wasn't good until I really met Shane, and he introduced me to a lot of books, a lot of, you know, podcasts, audiobooks. And it was like, you have to feed yourself, feed your brain that. And your brain is always being fed. Your brain is being fed good, positive things or bad, negative things constantly. All right. And if you're not feeding it good, positive, guess what? Social media and the news and the world around us that's going to explode any minute now is going to make you feel down and negative and bad. So we have to feed ourselves positivity. And you have to find that through the books, through the podcast, through the following Ricky Carruth, following Neil Mathwig, listening to his podcasts and doing those things. Those are things that work for me. Is anybody else would like to add something to that? Oh, by the way, I
I'll
don't
add
do
something.
that. I don't do that all the time. I mean, there's times that I'm feeling like, woo, I'm awesome. I'm killing it. And then there's times I'm like, and then as soon as I do one of those things or listen to something, it sparks and then I take off. So I'm
I'll
not,
add a little bit on
yeah,
that, Tony.
yep.
Yeah, I'll piggyback off that. I mean, one thing that I do a lot is just a lot of audiobooks because at least when I was in real estate, you know, we're driving all the time. So I spent so much time with audiobooks. But my thing that when I would teach students a lot is, you know, that I have to keep reminding myself all the time is we don't necessarily need motivation, we need discipline. And that came up a lot in the books that I read and listened to. And I'm a pretty disciplined person. So that's why the next one that I had brought up is like, as long as I have clarity on exactly what I want to do, then it's just a matter of waking up and telling myself I'm going to stick to the time blocking or stick to the. So I guess my contribution to this is that I always have to tell myself I don't necessarily have to feel motivated each day. I just have to feel disciplined to stay on track.
Yeah, thanks for adding that. That's definitely something that I've taken away. And Shane, you know, sends out YouTube links and stuff like that. And if you need those type of things, Shane will get you set up with that. Feel free to reach out to him, or I can share his information with you. But yeah, it's Jim Rohn. I never knew who that was, but Jim Rohn was, you know, the coach of Tony Robbins, you know, and his mentor. And they have a bunch. Tony Robbins has a lot of stuff on YouTube. You know, discipline is the difference. You know, because we're not. It's hard to be always motivated, but if you're disciplined, like this is what I do. Like this is. I don't eat like this anymore. I eat like this. I work out every day. You know, this is who I am. I make sure that I work and prospect every day. You know, I at least talk to 5 people a day. And I remember when I met with Shane, he talked about that. He was like, okay, this is a little overwhelming, you know, 20 contacts a day. Can you do 5? Like, well, surely I could do 5, right? And I think the first week I just did 5 a day. And he was like, it was pretty easy, wasn't it? I was like, yeah, it was like really easy. He's like, well, do you think you could do 10 a day? Like, yeah, I could probably do 10 a day, you know, and then just starts building off of that. So I guess kind of moving on to the next subject, being overwhelmed, right? Clarity on what to do next is just talk to 2 people today. If that seems overwhelming, talk to 1 person. And maybe that 1 person is calling Shane Tokum and saying, dude, I feel sluggish today. Trust me, he'll go, hey, what the hell's wrong with you? you know, or Christina, call me, or call Mark, or call whoever, and it sparks. And Alan Grulick does this too. I mean, I truly believe everybody that I've met, except for Shane, struggles with this. You know, every time I talk to Shane, he's like, "Oh, I'm great. Everything's awesome. I'm up at 4:30. Everything's great." And I don't think he does that. I think that's truly him. I mean, I don't think he's faking it. You know, but I think majority of us are not like that, and we need to work towards that and finding our path. All right, and go make 1 phone call. And for me, because we're in boxes and moving, it's literally put your computer on this desk and open it up, and open up your calendar, all right? And pull out your list of people and go, oh yeah, I need to call that person, you know, or even pulling out a text messages and just going through your text for the past week and going, oh yeah, I need to follow up with that person, you know? So just a simple thing on that, clarity of what to do next. Anybody want to throw something out there?
I'm just being quiet because if I start talking, I might not stop. But yeah, I like getting on here just to feed my ego from Tony talking how good I am. Yeah, you know what Mark said and Tony is so true. That I think I said this on the last call. I surround myself with authors like Tony Robbins and Grant Cardone and John Maxwell. And so that's how I stay positive, because I'm so engrossed in it. I don't have time to be negative. And so, plus I have a great life, and I tell myself that all the time, whether I do or don't. If you wake up in the morning, if you go to bed thinking I have a great life and I can't wake up in the morning, that's probably what you're going to do. If you go to bed thinking like I don't really want to get up in the morning, you're probably not going to. And so also me and Michael met the other day, Mike White, and the next day he's in the gym, and the next day he's in the gym, and then he's doing his work day, and I know he's doing it, and he's following up with me, letting me know he's doing it. But that was probably 2 weeks ago. And Mike may come on here and say like, yeah, it was good for 2 days, and then 3 days it was okay. Then the fourth day it wasn't that good, and the fifth day it wasn't that good. And so what happened? Well, he's trying to do it by himself. In other words, he needs to be surrounded by y'all and me and people that are in similar situations. And that's what y'all can do. If I each one of you, I will partner up with one of the other people on this call and say like, hey, here's what I'm going to do today. Check back in with me at 3 o'clock to make sure I did it. Or that could be me. I mean, I'm happy to do that. I love that call. I mean, Mike and I did that for a couple of days. Tony and I do that all the time. Alan and I did that this morning. I told Alan I needed to have lunch with him because I needed some inspiration. And he knows me well enough to know that that's me telling him he needs some inspiration and he needs to come and meet with me. But I'm not going to lie, it helps me to meet with Tony and to Alan. And wasn't Rob on here a little while ago?
Yeah, I saw him pop in. I don't
Rob Simonovic, whoever. It doesn't matter who it is. If you go into a meeting with positivity, the other person's going to get some from you, and the same with you. If they're positive, you're going to get some from them. So surround yourself with positive. That's how I stay with a positive mindset. In time management, Tony already word for word what I say, because we talk about it all the time. So I don't really need to comment on that.
Cool. Follow up with CRM. I have a feeling that Mark Kale has something to say about this. Mark, he's very meticulous about things, and I've known Mark for a really long time, but just recently we've gone closer. But that's always been my takeaway from the outside looking in, that very meticulous about I do this and this and this. This is something that I kind of lack a little bit in my follow-up. So Mark, is there anything that you could possibly share about that?
Yeah, it's funny that you'd pick on me for that. I think that follow-up, and it depends on the time in the building of my career. For those of you that don't know me, I was in real estate for a time. I've just switched over and working in mortgage and building my career there. But to me, it's like it comes down to the organizational piece and the discipline piece, because like follow-up can get so complicated because you got to figure out, you got to know where everybody is and who you need to follow up with. So I just have lately I've established, and it happens to be on Outlook, a very detailed to-do list that I can define everything by date. So as soon as I have a conversation with somebody and I know that, hey, I'm going to follow up with them in a week, or if, it could be a closing and you want to follow up in 3 months or whatever, like you have to have the discipline right then to set that task and put the due date. And then I just live by my to-do list every day, and it just shows up. Like today I put in a task for January 2022, and I know that it's just going to show up there when I get there, but it's a constantly reminding, and even short-term follow-ups, like I send out some documents to someone, I got to make sure that I upload those to the file in 2 days. Well, I don't just count that I'm going to remember that. I put that on my to-do list for, hey, follow up with so-and-so in 2 days to get those documents, so I think that's what it comes down to me, is just the discipline lies in the fact that every time I finish a task and a to-do is going to be out there in the future, I take the time to make that task in some sort of system that you have. And for me, it's Outlook, but it could be anything,
Yeah, I like that a lot. And as I was listening to you, it made me think of two things about follow-up. This is what's made a huge difference for me, is when Shane convinced me to start my hot warm list. All right. And this comes from Ninja Selling. And this is more of a visual representation and a reminder for me than my KV Core. Now, there are tools on KV Core, which I'll probably try to pull up here in a second, that you can add a task. Now, you would have to open up KV Core every day and look at your task, similar to what Mark said in Outlook. And you go, what are my tasks for today? All right, and you can knock those out. But what I like about this is the hot warm list is anybody on the hot list is either looking right now under contract or looking to buy in the next 90 days, right? Next 3 months. So they're actively looking and told me that, hey, I want to buy a house, or I want to sell a house. So they're on my hot list. Their name is here, right? And this probably needs to be updated. But bottom line is, this kind of tells me that they're under contract or they sold. I'm going to move them over to my closed tab. But then this is important to me right here. The last time that I contacted these people, right? And I haven't updated this in a couple of weeks because I've been out of town. But for instance, I start with this almost every day, and I go, Cassie Nesby, start at the top of the list. She's under contract. And the last time I talked to her was September 13th. Well, that's not true. All right. I talked to her a couple of days ago. But anyways, I'm going, dang, it's been 10 days since I've talked to her, and she's under contract. I should probably at least touch base and see how she's doing. Right. And as soon as I call her or text her, I literally just put today's date, 9/23. All right. And then so I go down this going, oh man, it's been a while since I've talked to them. Let me go ahead and drop them a message. All right. And then, as soon as I do that, I put that date on it. So for me, this is a visual representation of when was the last time I contacted them, and I should contact them again, right? The warm list is people that could possibly buy. They kind of are interested maybe in the next year, all right? So same thing, once I've kind of gone through my hot and updated all of that, then I'll go in and do my warms and go, oh yeah, let me touch base with them. Yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to add one last piece to that, because it brings back in that organizational piece. It's like, if you do have a week, how you showed the days of the week, and maybe that one day you're going to definitely give time to your hot and warm list, so then now you're organized. In fact, oh, I'm on this day. This is the time block that I'm doing for that. Now I go into the hot and warm list. And then the organization piece comes in yet again, that you have to have some sort of note or record on there to remind you what you did, and so that's where we keep a very detailed lead tracker here. And so in addition to the last contact to date, but it has notes my thing is, as soon as I get off a call or talk to someone, I've got to go right then and just write a quick little sentence as to what happened with the date at the beginning of that sentence. So that brings in that discipline and organizational piece, but it totally brings everything together in the end when you have a little data like that, and you have a specific day of the week that you're going to devote to that. Real estate's hard because every call and every text makes you think that it has to be dealt with right now, but it doesn't have to be dealt with right then. You can stick to your time block, and they can wait 2 hours for you to finish, anyway.
No, I like that. And that's similar to what I do here in KV Core. KV Core is super powerful and lead generator, and I don't know all the bells and whistles, but in my KV Core, everybody has a page here. So I do a custom note and I pin it to the top. So this is getting into the CRM portion. And on September 6th, I called and sent a text message with no response. So I record that. I'll go in here and edit and just write down exactly, okay, on 9/9, he responded to a text message on Tuesday saying that they were looking to move around December, January. Okay, cool. On top of that, this is where I kind of keep track of what kind of communication I've been having with them. And then after that, I can add a task. So either right here in tasks, you could go to this and I can add a task, right? Or I can go, oh, I have a past due tax. I was supposed to contact them on the 13th and I haven't, but I've been in communication with them. So I'd mark this done and I would add my next task. Once I add that task, it's going to show up on their page. All right, so it'll be right up here. The tasks come up here before even your pinned notes. So you go boom. But on top of that, when you log in to your dashboard here, you can just click task, right? And it'll show you, all of the tasks that you have either due today, right? So I have no tasks on there. But I could go, oh man, I have 8 past due. So now I can go, okay, Jasmine Paul, I'm supposed to follow up with her. She hasn't responded 4 times. Here's my 5th try. So I actually kind of jot down like how many tries it takes to get them to contact me. And I've been told to do like 12 or 13 attempts before you kind of give them whatever, it's not going to happen, or put them down. So I can go in here and then follow up with them. And then my upcoming tasks, as far out as February, Eddie Lozano, I'm going to wish them a happy anniversary. December 15th, I'm going to do a happy anniversary. So things like that you can add in your CRM. Those are the basic things that I find fairly easy to do. Again, it takes a little bit of discipline to do that consistently, but that's something that I do. Being more productive. I guess what I would say about being more productive is, again, going back to the time block, to where I go, okay, I literally set an alarm on my phone and I go, okay, for this 1 hour, all I'm doing is hot warm list. And I might get a text message, I might get a Facebook comment, I might get things that distract me. But for this 1 hour, I'm only going to focus on my hot warm list. Everything else can wait. And then when the buzzer ends, then I can go and address the other things. All right. But just kind of being laser focused, doing what you have to do to bring that focus to you. For me, it's a buzzer on my phone, right? It's an alarm going off. So I go, okay, it's almost 3 o'clock. From 3 to 4, I'm doing this. And this is the one thing I'm doing. Does anybody else want to add anything to what they do to be more productive?
I like what you said, but also I think we can all agree sometimes we are trying to be busy instead of productive. And so you got to eliminate the things that are just busy. If you're not getting anywhere with something, or it's not results. Like I think I talk about, a lot of agents want to say, oh, I have these fires I had to put out. Well, a fire to me for a real estate agent means you either need to call your title company, which is me, or your lender, which might be Mark. So that should take you 30 seconds to put that fire out, and then move on with your to-do list. Don't now call 10 people and say like, man, I have this fire, because that's what we want to talk about, how busy we are putting out this damn fire. Now you got to stick to your schedule and be productive and get in your mind like that fire is not productive. I mean, yeah, it might be for a closing that's happening next week, but that closing is going to happen probably no matter what happens. But what about the next month? That's where you got to be worried. All right. You got to be worried about what your production is going to be next month. And that has got to be something that's productive. And what's productive is your database. So get back to calling the people or texting the people or whatever you're doing with your database. So don't be busy, be productive.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you said that, it made me think of, I think they call it pie in ninja selling. The time, I'm trying to find it in my Cliff Notes version, of ninja selling here. There it is. Perfect timing. The power of
Wow.
Pi time. All right. P involves you, customer, and contract. Right. Listing appointment, presenting a contract, showing houses, negotiating a contract. I is flow time. All right. Making customer service calls, real estate reviews, 50 live interviews, personal notes, running auto flow. The I, increase your I time to increase your P time. So if you want more closings and appointments and all that, you got to do more of the I time. All right. And schedule and do your Ninja 9. E is everything else. And typically those things can be handled by an assistant and doesn't require a license. So that's that right there. I need to revisit this, but bam, like if you're doing anything that's not this or this, you're probably wasting your time, or you're not using your time wisely. All right. So talking to people, 50 live interviews, messaging people, personal notes, whatever it is, that will then all of a sudden lead to showing houses and writing contracts and doing that. You making a logo or something fancy on social media or a video, or those are good, but that should be on top of once this is taken care of. All right.
I had one little addition. How much you have to protect that time is so important, and a lot of times the clients don't understand that. They may just ask you, hey, can you come over and meet the plumber? They may have other ways that they could get someone to meet the plumber, but they may just ask you. And I think you have to protect your time and be able to say, oh, I'm not able to do that. Is there another way you could get somebody to meet the plumber? And a ton of the time they do. They go, oh yeah, I'll have my sister do it, and I'll have my sister open up for them or whatever. So just feeling the confidence to protect that I time, I think, is really important.
Yeah, no, for sure. Early on, I would attend like all the inspections, and I'd be like there for the whole inspection, and I got to be there for my client and the inspection site. What am I doing right now? I'm just wasting a couple hours, sitting at this inspection. And it's like, yeah, be in touch with the inspector and follow up with them and see how things went. But there's a lot of things you could do besides attending an inspection, So yeah, good stuff. Open houses with more traffic. I'm not a pro at this, but what I focus on is making sure that I'm in a high traffic zone, and the house is easily accessible. So early on, and I'll share this secret, is Alan turned me on to this, and he heard this from somebody else, was the Churchill area. Well, number one, it's a very popular area. It's inside 1604, and Blanco Road goes like all the way from past 410 all the way through 1604. Right, so Blanco Road is a very busy road, all right, and I'm familiar with that area. So if I'm doing an open house in that area, I always try to find something right off of Blanco Road, because I know all day, every day, there's going to be traffic up and down Blanco Road. And then I want to make sure that there's not a house that's like way far inside the neighborhood that's really hard to get to, right? If you have to take like 6 or 10 turns to get to the house, that traffic is probably not going to flow. But if it's literally you turn into the neighborhood and you take 1 or 2 turns to get to the house, I would rather host an uglier house that's easy to get to than a beautiful house that's like buried deep in the neighborhood that's going to be hard to get to. So I'm a big believer in that. Most of the people that come into my open houses say, oh yeah, I was driving past and saw the signs and I pulled in and it was easy to get to. All right. I've never really promoted. I do a little bit promotion of open house on social media, but it's mainly to my database and my friends. But it's possible that I've thought about this because somebody mentioned it to me. Let's say you're doing an open house in Stone Oak. Well, maybe, and I don't know if you can even get away with this, and they'll probably block you, but can you join the Stone Oak group, Facebook group? all right, or whatever neighborhood that you're in, join that group that week, and then throw a post, hey, open house this Saturday, blah blah, stop on by. So the neighborhood, the people that are on that group might stop by, or they might contact you about it. But I do think that some groups are really picky about that and might end up kicking you off. Sometimes you have to prove that you live in that neighborhood to be on that group. I've never done it, but I've known people to do it. I've known people to drop $10, $15, $20 for advertising on Facebook about the open house, and they say that helps with traffic. I'm kind of cheap, so I don't throw that money out to Facebook ads. It's not a lot of money, but maybe I should try it. I don't know. I've never done it. Anybody else have experience with how to drive more traffic to your open houses?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, I agree with you, Tony. Putting it out on social, I don't think really gets you traffic. It does show you're active in the business and that you're doing things, and that's a good thing. But I don't think it really adds up to people coming out to the open house. I think what works really well is making sure it's on all the portals. So if it's not your listing, being insistent with the listing agent that they go in the MLS, pull the tab up for open houses, and they select open house, and then it gets syndicated, and it's on Zillow and Realtor.com.
Yeah.
And some of those, they may have to force it on. Like sometimes it's not automatic. So we want to make sure it's stay on the listing agent to do that. If it's your own listing, what I like to do is write in the public remarks, I'll put open house. Like as soon as the home hits the market, I'll put in the public remarks, open house, Saturday, 1 to 5. So right there, I think that's a majority of your traffic, because when I was doing open houses consistently, over half of my visitors were internet people from the portals, Zillow, Realtor, or they're just looking at homes online. And if you click on the description says open house. So that's huge. That, and the second biggest thing for me was the signs, and just having a lot of signs, and just putting them in a really good place. And I was strategic about that. I would come out the day before and put at least one sign in front of the house and like one on the street. And then Saturday morning, I'd come out really early, like before I'd go to the gym, come out, stick out like 10, 12 signs as early as I could. Because I think a lot of us who get busy, you're like, I'll just go put them up an hour before. Well, that doesn't really help. Like people have got their routine on Saturday. They leave to go do something, and they come back. Maybe they see it a couple times. So I think those three things: getting it on the internet the right way, getting enough signs out, and then the timing of it. Don't wait till the last minute. Get a couple out Friday, and then make sure that Saturday morning they're done. So you should be essentially just be arriving at the open house pretty much ready to go. You set up inside. You shouldn't really have to be setting up signs at that point. I think if you are, you're losing a couple of people. So hopefully that helps.
Yeah, no, I that's funny that you say that, because I see it in the agent remarks, but yeah, you want to put it in that remarks. You brought up a great point, because yeah, people are looking on Zillow and they do see that, and I'm gonna use that. I like that tip.
Yeah, in public.
Yeah, public remarks. Right. Yeah, I like that. That's good. Yeah, and I always put my signs out early. I do a routine of I put them out at 8 or 9 o'clock. I go grab my breakfast tacos and go home. And that's my routine. Alan works out. I eat tacos. So, and then like you said, you just roll up. You roll up to the house. Your signs are already there, and people have been seeing those signs as they've been driving by.
I eat tacos too, man. I eat the tacos and I go to the gym. So
there you go. Well, cool. I think somebody else wanted to say something.
I had a question.
Yep.
I post on social media about my open houses that I do, and a lot of it is just to show my database, like, hey, look, I'm actually doing stuff. And Neil Mathwig actually commented on my Instagram post, because I followed him a couple weeks ago, and then he followed me back, and he DM'd me on Instagram and said, like, hey, this is awesome that you're doing this, blah, blah, blah. I think you should do shorter open houses. And I do 3 hours. I do 1 to 4 because that's what Tony told me to do. I have friends that do 2 hours and they told me like, man, it just feels too short. Like you're missing people. And I told Neil that I was like, oh, wow. Like, blah, blah, what do you think? Why? And he said that one time they experimented and did a 1 hour open house and that people were like tripping over themselves to get in because of the urgency. There's only 1 hour to see it. So it's not something, oh, well, to come back to it later. And then, they don't. But if they see it's only open for 1 hour, oh, that's right now, let's go. So I was just wondering if any of y'all have tried that or if it's, a different market. He's in what, like way up, who knows where, north. Yeah. So I didn't know if it's like a market thing or if you guys have tried a shorter 2 hour, 1 hour open house.
I know that as I'm listening to you talk, I think it depends on the market and the neighborhood. If it's like a super high desirable neighborhood, that's like, maybe that works. But then again, like if I'm setting up all these signs and doing all that and I try it and experiment 1 hour and nothing happens, like,
that's my thought too.
Yeah. And then the 3 hours that I do, I think about it this way too, is like, I do 1 to 4, it's 3 hours. I think it's long enough. And it's a 3 hour work block. Right. And at least I tell myself that, and sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, but it's like, okay, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to host this open house. And even if nobody shows up, I'm going to get 3 hours of work done, and more than likely people are going to show up. Right. So that, distracts you from that. I remember Pat Hayes early on, he was like, oh, I love open houses. That's what I did when I started. I would do it just like all day. Like, and he would like go all out. Like he would do like ridiculously long open houses. So I guess whatever fits you. And I don't know. Does anybody think that 1 hour would be enticing?
Yeah, I did. When I was doing it quite a bit, I actually started doing 2 hours because I talked to, is it Troy? Is that the past band director who's, is it Troy? I don't know if it's Troy. He's at Keller Williams. And we were doing Ignite together, and he came in. He was like, "Hey, I did a 2 hour open house last week," and he's like, "I'll never do it longer than that," because I think the key is if you set it up the right way, that it could be a really good 2 hour window, and it must be that it sets up some sort of urgency in their mind to just get there, rather than, oh yeah, that thing's like all day, I'll just get there whenever, and then they don't. Yeah. So I think if you're really, really good at the prep, as far as prepping it, like we were talking about, then it could be effective, 2 hours. But I mean, 2 hours, 3 hours to me, so similar. I mean, I think 2 hours is way better than doing like 5 hours, Yeah. I just think it's better use of your time.
That's a good point. And I do realize recently, especially, man, everybody comes in at the last minute. They're like, oh, it's 4 o'clock. Are y'all still open? I'm like, yeah, come on in. Of course, I'm not going to say no, right? Who knows what it leads to. But yeah, they always seem to either come right at the beginning or right at the end. And I'm not sure why that is, but yeah, it's just, to me, it's whatever you're comfortable with, and putting out that work to get the payoff. Cool. Consistency of work. And I lack that from time to time. Sometimes I'm great. Sometimes I'm killing it and rolling. And I'll tell you what, this is the big.
Hey, I saw Shane rolling his eyes. I want to know why he's rolling his eyes.
I'm not rolling my eyes. I just think it's funny.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you this. When I have 5 days in a row, Monday through Friday, I'm reporting to work and doing it, it's unbelievable to me that I swear there's things that just happen. Things just start falling into place. And it's like, oh shit, I just got a lead. Or, oh wow, this person just called me. Oh wow, this happened. And it's like, wow, that's all it takes. It's like 5 days in a row and bam, there's something happening. But then it's life happens, right? And we have to learn to okay, we had a bad day and we didn't do anything. Well, don't let that one bad day turn into 2, 3, 4 bad days. Like, okay, I had a bad day, we'll jump back on. Similar to like this diet. I think Mark K was talking to me about it. Was like, okay, you had a cheat day. Okay, cool. We'll get back on it. Don't turn it into 2, 3, 4, 5 days of cheat days. All right, turn into like, oh, it was fun while it lasted, but back to discipline. Like, get back on it. Easier said than done. You got to find that motivation. Sometimes you got to watch something and listen to something, whatever it is. That's like, yeah. I'll tell you what. This week, I'm in vacation mode still. I'm in moving mode. I'm living out of boxes. I'm all these things. The one thing that got me kind of going was this mastermind. I was like, oh, I got to host this mastermind, and I got to put something together here. And it made me sit down and go, I have a responsibility to do this. So this is like getting me going and getting me fired up about these type of things. So that's kind of why I like doing it weekly. It kind of holds my feet to the fire, right? So I see Shane nodding approval a little bit after a shaking of the head. So anybody else? I know Alan, we talk about this. We go back and forth with struggling, each other up.
For sure, yeah. We talk. Tony and I talk about this all the time. And I was talking to somebody else recently about this. Like, when you go on vacation, you always have this fantasy in your mind. I'm going to come back and I'm going to hit it hard. But you don't, because you took all this time off and you're just like in relax mode, and like every action just feels heavy. So I just came out of something like that too. And what helped was, like, I wrote, first of all, maybe you have a bad day once you get back, but you got to, like you said, you got to get over it quick. But what helped for me was I kind of started writing down my goals, looking at why I'm doing all this stuff. And then I went to the whiteboard and I put, here are my hot leads, and getting familiar with that. And then like, oh, hey, I've got these upcoming listings. And, I actually do have some business going, and it's sort of motivating to just look at those things. And then, like you said, Tony, like once you get over that heaviness of making a call and starting the process, all of a sudden these opportunities start popping up for one reason or the other. Like, for instance, I had a client that she's getting ready to list her property, little condo in Alamo Heights. And I think I told you, she's a talker. I told Michael this. And I had been avoiding talking to her for so long because I'm like, man, it's going to be like a 30-minute, 40-minute conversation, which is terrible to think, by the way. And finally, I was like, you know what? I can call her. I can check in with her. I could just let her know I've got something coming up, but I wanted to check in and see how she is doing because I care about her. You know what I mean? And after doing that, every other call or whatever else I needed to do just kind of flowed because I had kind of, fixed my mindset and had that conversation. So, yeah, I mean, the power of, I think one conversation could really be the thing that gets you through it.
Yeah, I think you and I talked about that, Alan. When you got a long talker, you might say before you start the conversation, hey, I'm driving, but I want to catch up with you real quick. I'm going to pull up to my place that I'm going in a few minutes. And so then you have a 3-minute conversation, say, okay, I'm here. And hopefully you've covered everything you need to cover in that 3 minutes.
Yeah.
But your point of getting the ball rolling is exactly right. It is similar to like if you're working out or you don't want to work out and you say, you know what, let me do 10 jumping jacks. And then, you do 10 and you're like, oh, well, I'm already changed. I might as well do 10 push-ups also, or 10, let me do 10, whatever it is. It's the same thing with your work. If you go to where you work, your mind will take over and you'll start saying like, let me call that person. Oh, you know what? I might as well call this person too while I'm sitting there. And then I'll call this person. And then you just get back on them. At least that's what I do.
Yeah. Atomic Habits. Atomic Habits talks about that in the book. And it's the visual cues or setting up your environment, and of course it's an excuse, right? But like, I need to set up my environment, and my environment is my list, right? My greatness tracker, or literally open up my computer and freaking pull up my hot warm list, and I just look at it and go, oh, I could call them. Let me call them. You know, oh, well, let me call this person. And and all of a sudden you're hour, 2 hours in, you're like, all right, cool. I feel good. I made some calls, you know, and touching base with people.
Also, I think like for any of y'all, if you have a greatness tracker or if you have whatever you mark down, if you take a picture of the blank one, and let's say it's Monday and you send it to whoever your accountability partner is, like for me and Tony, and say like, I want to have 10 ticks on here that I made 5 calls by in the next 30 minutes. And then you got to do it, you know, just having somebody there to say like, good job, you know, that helps too.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, so setting up your environment and going to that spot, you know, and not going, oh, I'm laying in bed and yeah, I might make a call, or oh, I'm laying on the couch, or it's like, yeah, you could work from the couch, but you're probably not going to be very productive. You know, I love Alan's office setup. It looks real professional, clean and slick. I can't wait for my office to look like that. But obviously, like that's his workspace. You know, he goes in there and he has his whiteboard, and this is what I do when I'm here. So I think that's pretty important. And whatever that is, you know, I was living on my parents' other house, and I had to create this little zone in their room. Like, here's my printer, here's my, you know, my desk, and now I know that this is my work zone. Or I like to go to Thrive Mortgage, you know, or North American Title. And I go, okay, I'm going to drive there and go to work. You know, when I get there, I do work. You know, so I think that definitely helps, having a place to flick the switch and get to work. Well, cool. I enjoyed this. I appreciate everybody chiming in and sharing their thoughts on everything. I hope you got something out of it. All right. Obviously, this is being recorded. I'll put it back on the group so that everybody that missed it can watch it and catch up on that. I want to thank everybody for being here, and look forward to. I plan on continuing to do this weekly. You know, if you have a thought of what you would like to talk about, or you know, hey, we should talk about this next week, or hey, we should talk about this next month, or whatever it is, please feel free to share. I feel like on that group, I want that group to be more interactive, rather than me or Alan posting something. You know, if Shane wants to share something in the group, or Mark wants to share something in the group, or whoever, I think y'all have access to just put stuff on there that we can share with each other. So let's get that thing rolling, and I think that's all I got for today. Cool.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tony.
Thank you, Tony.
All right,
That was
guys.
awesome.
All right. Thanks for being here.
Mhm.